Women after 60 can't resist older men who compliment in these 5 ways. Complimenting a woman over 60 is an art, and when done right, it can make her heart skip a beat. But not all compliments are created equal. Some fall flat, feel awkward, or even unintentionally offend. The right words, spoken with sincerity and insight, can make a man instantly irresistible. Hi, it's Vernon again. Today, I'm going to reveal 5 compliments that women over 60 simply can't resist. Compliments that go beyond surface charm and touch something timeless and meaningful. These are the words that show admiration, respect, and deep appreciation. Words that make love after 60 not only possible, but irresistibly magnetic. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of these life-changing insights. Now, let's explore the first compliment that captures a woman's heart. 1. Honoring her journey and resilience. There's something deeply moving about recognizing the battles someone has fought and won, the challenges they've overcome, the strength they've developed through experience. When you acknowledge a woman's journey and resilience, you're seeing her not as she appears in this moment, but as the accumulation of everything she's survived and conquered. The ancient Greek concept of eudaimonia refers to human flourishing achieved through struggle and growth. When you acknowledge a woman's journey, the difficulties she's navigated, the wisdom she's gained, the strength she's developed, you're recognizing her eudaimonia, her hard-won flourishing. This type of compliment works because it honors her experience rather than dismissing it. Instead of trying to make her feel young again, you're celebrating what she's gained through living. You might say things like, "I can tell you've learned to trust your own judgment through experience," or "There's something about your calm confidence that speaks of someone who's weathered storms and found her footing." When you specifically acknowledge their accumulated strengths, their earned wisdom, their developed resilience, you're offering validation that our society rarely provides. The key is specificity and authenticity. Don't just say, "You're strong." Notice how she handles a difficult situation and say, "I admire how thoughtfully you handled that challenge." It shows someone who's learned to respond rather than react. Don't just say, "You're wise." Notice her perspective and say, "You have a way of seeing situations that can only come from having navigated complexity before." These compliments work because they require you to actually observe and understand her, rather than simply offering generic praise. They show you see her as a complete person whose past informs her present strength. But acknowledging her journey is just the beginning. There's another aspect of mature appreciation that goes even deeper, recognizing how life has shaped not just her character, but her unique and evolving beauty. 2. Celebrating her evolving beauty. Here's where most men over 60 make their crucial mistake. They compliment a woman's beauty despite her age, rather than because of it. They say, "You don't look your age," when they should be saying, "You wear your years beautifully." The difference is profound and speaks to entirely different worldviews about what makes a woman attractive. This is exactly what attracts mature men to mature women, and what mature women most want to have recognized and celebrated. When you compliment a woman's evolving beauty, you might say things like, "The way you laugh shows someone who's learned to find joy despite life's difficulties." Or, "There's an elegance in how you move through the world that speaks of someone comfortable in her own skin." Or, "Your smile has stories in it, and they're beautiful stories." Dr. Susan Sontag's research on women and aging reveals that our culture's obsession with youth creates what she calls the double standard of aging. Men are seen as becoming distinguished. Women are seen as simply getting older. When you specifically celebrate how life has enhanced rather than diminished her beauty, you're offering a radical alternative to this cultural message. The secret is learning to see and articulate the specific ways that experience enhances rather than erodes attractiveness. The confidence that comes from self-knowledge. The grace that develops from having navigated loss and found joy again. The expressiveness that comes from no longer hiding behind social masks. These compliments require you to develop what I call mature aesthetic appreciation, the ability to find beauty in depth, character, and authenticity, rather than just surface perfection. You're not lying or exaggerating. You're simply seeing beauty through wiser eyes. Think about the women in your life. How often do you truly celebrate their evolving beauty rather than just their youthfulness? Comment below with an example of a compliment you've given or received that honored the wisdom and grace that come with age. This appreciation of her evolved beauty connects directly to something even more compelling, recognizing the intellectual and emotional sophistication she's developed over decades of experience. 3. Recognizing her wisdom and intelligence. Perhaps nothing more attractive to an intelligent woman than having her intelligence not just acknowledged, but genuinely appreciated and engaged with. Yet I've watched countless men over 60 make the mistake of either talking down to accomplished women or being intimidated by their expertise and experience. My friend, Harold, was struggling with dating after his divorce at 65. A successful engineer, he was used to being the expert in the room, the problem solver, the one with answers. His early attempts at connecting with women involved trying to impress them with his knowledge or offering unsolicited advice about their challenges. Everything shifted when Harold met Catherine, a 63-year-old retired principal at a lecture on local history. Instead of trying to show off his own knowledge, Harold asked genuine questions about her perspective on educational leadership. When she shared insights about managing complex personalities and institutional change, Harold said something that changed their entire dynamic. The way you understand human nature and organizational dynamics, that's the kind of wisdom you can only develop through years of actually leading people. I'm genuinely impressed by how you see these patterns. Catherine later told me that in her entire career, few people had ever acknowledged her intellectual contributions so directly and appreciatively. Most men either competed with her expertise or dismissed it entirely.
Women over 60 have often spent decades developing phronesis, the wisdom that comes from applying knowledge in complex, real-world situations involving human relationships and judgment calls. When you recognize and appreciate this practical wisdom, you're acknowledging something she's worked decades to develop. You might say things like, "I love how you see solutions that aren't obvious to others. That comes from real experience." Or, "The way you read people and situations shows someone who's learned to trust her instincts through practice." Or, "Your perspective on this is fascinating. You're seeing angles I would never have considered." When you specifically acknowledge and engage with this intellectual sophistication, you're recognizing her at her cognitive prime, rather than treating her as past her intellectual peak. And just as recognizing her wisdom sparks connection, there's another type of compliment that touches something even deeper, one that honors not just what she knows, but the remarkable life she's lived and the resilience she's cultivated along the way.
4. Appreciating her unique perspective. One of the most profound gifts that comes with decades of living is the development of a truly unique perspective. A way of seeing the world that's been shaped by individual experience, reflection, and growth. When you recognize and appreciate this uniqueness in a woman over 60, you're acknowledging something irreplaceable and precious. The philosopher Immanuel Levinas wrote about the face of the other, how encountering different perspectives fundamentally enriches our understanding of reality. When you appreciate a woman's unique perspective, you're acknowledging that her way of seeing adds something valuable to your own understanding of the world. This type of appreciation works because it recognizes her as an individual rather than a representative of her demographic. Instead of seeing a woman over 60, you're seeing Linda, with her specific combination of experiences, insights, and ways of processing information that no one else possesses. You might express this appreciation by saying things like, "I never thought about it that way. Your background gives you insights I would never have on my own." Or, "The way you approach this problem is completely different from how I'd think about it, and I think your approach is actually better." Or, "You have a gift for seeing things from angles that others miss. It makes conversations with you genuinely enlightening." But here's what makes this particularly powerful for women over 60. Many have spent careers or decades in situations where their perspectives were dismissed, overlooked, or undervalued. Having someone not just tolerate, but actively appreciate and learn from their viewpoint can be profoundly validating. The key is genuine curiosity and engagement. Don't just say her perspective is interesting. Ask follow-up questions, build on her insights, show how her viewpoint has actually changed or enhanced your thinking. This demonstrates that you see her as an intellectual partner rather than just a romantic interest. Which of these ways of appreciating a woman's perspective resonates most with you? Comment below with your thoughts, and don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful. This appreciation of her unique perspective leads us to perhaps the most attractive quality you can recognize in a mature woman: her commitment to continuing growth and development. 5.
acknowledging her continuing growth. Perhaps the most magnetic quality in any person over 60 is their refusal to stop growing, learning, and becoming. When you recognize and celebrate a woman's ongoing development, her new interests, her evolving perspectives, her willingness to embrace change, you're acknowledging something that sets her apart from those who've decided their growing days are behind them. When you acknowledge a woman's continuing growth, you're recognizing her as someone who's still becoming rather than someone who's finished developing. You might say things like, "I love that you're still curious about new things. It shows someone who's truly alive." Or, "The way you're willing to challenge yourself and learn shows a kind of courage that's rare at any age." Or, "Watching you discover new interests makes me want to embrace more growth in my own life." This type of compliment works because it sees her as forward-looking rather than backward-focused, as someone still writing her story rather than just reflecting on chapters already written. It acknowledges her agency, her choice to remain vital and engaged with life. But in a society that often views aging as decline, recognizing someone's continued growth and development is radical appreciation. You're seeing potential where others might see limitation, possibility where others might see endings. The beauty of this approach is that it creates what psychologists call a positive feedback loop. When you acknowledge and appreciate someone's growth, you encourage more growth. When you see them as still becoming, they're inspired to keep becoming. These compliments require you to pay attention, not just to who she is, but to who she's becoming. Notice the new book she's reading, the class she's taking, the hobby she's exploring, the perspective she's developing. See these as evidence of her vitality rather than just ways to pass time. As we reach the end of our conversation today, I want you to understand something profound. The 5 types of compliments I've shared: honoring her journey, celebrating her evolving beauty, recognizing her wisdom, appreciating her unique perspective, and acknowledging her continuing growth aren't techniques or strategies. They're ways of seeing. Each of these approaches requires you to recognize women over 60 not as diminished versions of younger women, but as enhanced versions of themselves. Deeper, wiser, more interesting, more beautiful in ways that can only come through experience and growth. If you found yourself nodding along to these insights, if you recognized the difference between shallow flattery and deep appreciation, then you already possess the foundation for connecting meaningfully with mature women, the ability to see depth and value it. The Roman poet Horace wrote, "Carpe diem," seize the day. But what Horace understood, and what I've learned from watching beautiful connections form between mature people, is that seizing the day at 60 looks different than seizing it at 30. It's about recognizing and celebrating the depth that comes with experience. In your next conversation with a woman you find interesting, resist the urge to comment on her appearance or offer generic compliments. Instead, listen for evidence of her journey, her wisdom, her unique perspective, her continuing growth, Then acknowledge what you genuinely see and appreciate. Remember, authenticity is everything. Don't use these as scripts or formulas. Use them as invitations to see more deeply, appreciate more fully, and connect more meaningfully with the remarkable women who share this stage of life with you. Give this video a like, share it with friends who might benefit, and comment below with which type of compliment resonates most with you. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another tip for connecting meaningfully with mature women. This is Vernon. Thank you for joining me, and see you next time.